Joey, your reaction following that defeat today?
Really frustrated, really disappointed. Came here with a game plan. Obviously, Obi pulls his hamstring or has a tweak in his hamstring, and we're down to 10 men. You know, Demps isn't ready to come on for whatever, you know, his pads weren't on, not ready to come on, and that means we're playing for a longer period than we should have been, with a man less. They obviously scored at that point, and then we're chasing the game a little bit, you know, and then the game plan kind of has to be adjusted because we've got to get in the game. And you know, the plan was to take the crowd away from them because they've got the best home record in the division, frustrate them, and then as the game opened up, we would have made changes to go and win the game ourselves. As it was, that kind of all great plans went out the window relatively early. So it's disappointing because, you know, they're the team that's, I think, third in the table, best home record, all these kind of things, and I just, you know, they've scored a deflected goal. There's Tales is saying he's been fouled in the build up to it. Whether he has or not, we'll have to watch it back. Ends up with deflecting past Cairnsey into our net, and then there's not really much between the two sides. You know, we know how big that first goal is in this division, and obviously, ideally, you know, you want to make sure that if they do score it against you, it's with your full complement of players. So yeah, really frustrating. But again, you're kind of scratching your head in terms of, you know, what you can do about it. Sometimes things happen that are out of your control.
The second half, you offered a bit more as going forward as an attacking threat, but just the final third, nothing sort of broke for you then. No,
and that's football sometimes. As I said to the lads in the dressing room at half time, effort-wise, you know, we can't fault them. They kept chipping away, trying to get back into the game. And look, these are a good side. You know, it's not, you don't sit where they are on the table and have the record that they have in this stadium without being a good side. So we knew it was a tough task. And as I say, the most frustrating thing for us is, you know, obviously the things that happen outside of your control conspire to give them a leg up in what was already going to be a difficult game. Do I think they're a million miles away from us? No, I don't. Spoke to the lads in the dressing room about, you know, managing key things at key times. As I say, we just got to dust ourselves down and learn the lessons.
This afternoon, no Wes Burns, Louis Coyle. What were the issues there?
Coyle picked up a rib injury in the Guiseley game, so he's had to have an injection, and hopefully that settles down. You know, medical advice, we couldn't risk him. Wes was in the team until after training yesterday, when he decided to tell people he had a tight hamstring. And again, from my perspective, that's really frustrating, because you build a strategy, you build a plan to come and execute in a tough place to come. And that little bit of, you have to call it professionalism, you know, whether it's Wes yesterday or Demps today, you know, you've got to be ready for action, you know, and if you're not ready, you've got to let people know early. There's no point trying to hide it. You know, for us, we've got good players and we can formulate a plan, but what we can't have is people trying to keep things under wraps. If they're not quite right, as we spoke to them and said, look, you've got to do it. So it's really frustrating for me, because we could have come here and got something without a shadow of a doubt. But we've got to learn to be a lot more savvy, and that goes for on and off the pitch. We've got to learn to be a little bit more streetwise and a little bit more savvy and a little bit more professional at the right times. As I say, as a manager, there's only so much you can do. You can only lead a horse to water. If they decide they're going to, you know, do things off their own back, then the responsibility for that lies with them.
You said in the week that you'd sort of identified weaknesses within this Luton side. You then named a team with a 3-5-2 formation. How much of that was down to the loss of Louis Coyle and Wes Burns, or how much of that was down to your thinking generally anyway? Yeah, look, it's not ideal to have, you know, two starters miss the game through injury, especially when you've coming off the back of 2 wins. And then you have to make changes. You know, Conor McElhinney drops out through no fault of his own, other than tactically we had to adjust to pick a side capable of dealing with, you know, a very good side in Luton. So it's not ideal. You always want your players fit and healthy and ready for action, but you know, that isn't football. You don't always get what you want, and you have to adjust to it. I felt we were more than capable with the team we put out. Obviously 5-6 minutes into the game, that gets thrown up in the air again. So
you know, as a manager, you just have to accept sometimes things conspire against you. You know, that's the way it is today, and that is football. Sometimes you do need, as much as you think you know everything about it, you still need to have a little bit of luck, a little bit of rub of the green. And you know, today, a combination of things. I mean, I'm always moaning about refs and fourth officials, but today, again, we run into some strange refereeing. I mean, there is a foul clearly in the build-up. He allows their player to run on for 4 or 5 seconds, cross the ball in the box. Our player heads it out, and then he decides to go back for the free kick. It's the first time I've ever seen it, but I'm learning lots of things about refereeing at this level.
Still enjoying management, Joey?
Yeah, really enjoying it. It is frustrating. Definitely added a few more grey hairs based on what's gone on, certainly in the last day. But yeah, look, we're fine. We know where we're going, what we want to do. And as I say, you know, habits are hard to break. It does take a period of time, and yes, it'd be great if people took it on board and kept it for the whole of, you know, the season. But we know we've got to constantly keep reinforcing those messages. As I say to the lads in there, you know, we get back to the training ground. You know, we've got loads of work to do, but it's nothing we didn't know before today's game.
And back to Highbury next week when things have been going well recently.
Well, yeah, that's the absurdity of this season so far. We've had, you know, the early part of the season we were great away and not so great at home, and then obviously it's flipped on its head a little bit. But again, that's another one of the top 6 we've played away from home. So look, we've got some tough fixtures coming up. You know, starting with Barton at home on Saturday, and I think we've got, you know, another couple of the big boys coming certainly before we see the new year. But again, you know, good physical test for us, good test for us at where we are in the team. And as I say, we've just got to keep believing in the group, believing in each other, and keep moving forward.
Thanks very much, Joey.
No problem.